Welcome to Ecu Flash Evo 8, Evo 9 Training Part 20. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at something called shift knock. Shift knock can happen when we're making a gear shift change, if we're getting into high boost levels and we lift our throttle and come back on the throttle again. The load change will sweep down into a lower load portion of our spark timing table at higher RPM, and then it'll sweep back up into our higher load section within the spark timing table. That transition point when we're sweeping down through the table and coming back up, if our spark timing isn't going to be exactly dialed in there, it's going to induce something called this shift knock, where it's going to be picking up knock count as much as maybe 20 or 30 counts a knock. It's going to be something we want to avoid, and I'm going to show you exactly what to look for in data logs to determine if you are having shift knock, and then going into the calibration file and actually changing and updating everything so you can get rid of it. So without further wait, let's jump into this video so we can check this out. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be taking a look at working with something called shift knock in our Evo 8 and Evo 9 applications. Shift knock is going to be occurring when we make a gear shift, or if we're making a large transient event with our throttle movement. So if we're getting into boost, and maybe we're in boost for a second, and then all of a sudden we lift our throttle pretty rapidly, we're going to find the load changes as we're lifting our throttle. And when the load changes, it's going to be referencing different points in our spark timing table. If we have relatively conservative spark timing at full throttle conditions, and then as we lift our throttle, we're going to find the timing can spike pretty quickly as it transitions through the spark timing table. And that can create what's called the shift knock condition, where the timing goes from something like 0 degrees, 2 degrees spark timing at full throttle, maybe in the mid-range. We lift our throttle, all of a sudden the timing can spike up to something like 18 or 20 degrees, because it's sourcing a different point in the actual main spark timing table, which is what creates the shift knock. Now, this phenomena happens almost every 4G63 engine I've ever worked with. So whether it's going to be on something like a 1G or 2G on ECM link, or here on the Evo 8, Evo 9 applications, it even can occur on the 4B11 engine in the Evo 10 application. So this is something that is definitely a real problem that can happen. And even if you've mapped everything out at full throttle, as I'm going to be showing you here in this tutorial, it still can occur because the way that the load transitions through the spark timing tables. This is something, it's more of a transient off the chassis dyno or off full throttle kind of condition that can start to present itself. Now, not every car is going to do it, but you'll find that with the right conditions, will start to generate what's called a shift knock. And we're going to find that if you have your check engine light set to flash if you have knock, it's going to be constantly going off as you drive. Super annoying, and it is something we want to avoid. So the file that I have open here is going to illustrate the spark timing tuned in properly, in the sense that it's creating this shift knock condition. Now at full throttle, this particular calibration file that the vehicle was tuned with was perfectly fine. I had little to no knock, maybe one count of knock at full throttle conditions, but it wasn't until this car got off the chassis dyno and started to drive and shift to the gears where this issue presented itself. So this is something you're most likely going to run into. You just need to know how to deal with it in order to get rid of this shift knock condition. So let's jump from our file here. Let's go into Megalog Viewer. I have two different data logs to show to illustrate the cause and effect and what we need to look for in our spark timing table. This is going to be a relatively short tutorial because the topic here isn't super in depth, but it is going to be kind of direct and to the point. It's just so you know exactly what to do when you see this kind of behavior in data logs. So let's jump into Megalog Viewer. Now in my Megalog Viewer, this is going to be a full throttle pull from this car on the chassis dyno. And we're going to find I have the typical data logging channels that I'm logging, that I'm usually always use when I'm tuning in Evo 8, Evo 9 with Ecu Flash. So let's just quickly go over what I have on screen here, and then we'll just talk about what we're seeing, and then move into the actual example of shift knock. So within our three different lanes of graph data from a full throttle pull on the dyno, we're going to find I have in the white here up top engine RPM. We can see this, I'm taking this all the way up to 6,800. We're also going to find that I have throttle position here. Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here. And you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.